Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and we're here today to talk about WandaVision, Season 1, Episode 8, the penultimate episode of the first season. And as always, it was fabulous. So let me get right into it. We start out in, it looks like 1693 it was, if I'm not mistaken, the trial of Agatha Harkness by her fellow witches, including apparently her mom. And they had her on trial for, I guess, doing some stuff that broke the witch code, or that was not cool in witchdom. They don't really detail her charges, so we don't know what she did, but she swears she, didn't have any ill intent, and I think she might even have said she didn't do it, but regardless, she protested that they were trying her for these things, and she begged her mother, not to do it, not to administer the punishment or whatever, or find her guilty or both. But her mother wasn't listening, so she ends up kind of going medieval on their collective witchy buttocks and busts out. So we kind of have a little bit of the history of Agatha. So that was, cool. Part of this scene, by the way, involved her she ends up killing her mother, like draining her life force. And she steals her mother's brooch, or takes her mother's brooch off the corpse. And it's the brooch that she's been wearing all season. So that's the origin of the brooch. And that was a pretty chilling, moment. But then we get back to the present, where she and Wanda are in Agatha's basement. And Agatha is basically trying to get information from Wanda as to how she was able to do all of this in Westview. She lets her know that Pietro wasn't actually her brother, that he was basically a golem, the way she described it, and that she couldn't use his original body because it was full of holes, among other things. So she just, made him look like the other guy, I guess. How she knows about that other guy, we don't know. But so we know that wasn't, actual Pietro brought back to life, but with a different appearance. It was a complete construct. So that's kind of freaky. But he doesn't know that, it seems. So I don't know. She says, she's amazed at Wanda's abilities because it's basically magic on autopilot. That's the phrase that she uses, which, means it's running itself. It's autonomous. It's like its own AI, as it were, its own consciousness, which is what I've been saying all along. She points out to Wanda, you have spells running halfway across town, sort of on their own, simultaneously. And she's just amazed by this because apparently it's not something witches can typically do, or that she's seen before. And it is pretty amazing, and that's why I've been sort of marveling at it all season, because it's just an incredible thing to think that, she's doing this all on purpose. Well, maybe that wasn't even conscious, but once it got started, she was manipulating things consciously, certain things close to her immediate orbit. We saw that all season long. But at the same time, she's got these spells running across town, and that are like in the back of her mind, I guess, or just running sort of on a subconscious level, which I've been talking about all season long. And this is, Agatha telling her that's crazy powerful, and she wants to know how to do what Wanda's done. She wants to be able to, do all that she's done, create a fake town, transmogrify things, transmute things on a massive scale, just like Wanda can. So that's why she's got Wanda's kids, and she's holding Wanda basically hostage. But what she does to sort of figure out, because Wanda keeps saying, I don't know who I did it, I don't know what you're talking about, she puts Wanda through her paces, basically a la Cybok in Star Trek V, where he makes, Bones and Spock relive their past, and he tries to make Kirk relive their pasts so that they can learn about themselves. But in this case, she's doing it to learn about Wanda, to see how Wanda did all this, what pushed her over the edge, because she knows that, you know, she was feeling alone and sad because she lost Vision, but she's trying to get to the meat of it, the heart of it, how she did it, what made it happen. So she's putting her through these paces. So we get these flashbacks of Wanda as a child in Sokovia. And she basically watches herself and Pietro interact with their parents on TV night. And they're, you know, watching a video of the Dick Van Dyke Show, which explains, you know, in the beginning how her scenario for herself and Vision in Westview was very much like Dick Van Dyke. It's something that's in her consciousness from when she was a kid. Interestingly, also in the box of DVDs was a Bewitched DVD. So there you go, a little nod there. But the next thing that happens is Wanda's house gets bombed. I guess, you know, somebody was bombing somebody, and her house came in the path of a bomb, which wrecked the house and killed their parents. Interestingly, it was a bomb from Stark Industries, but it never went off. So the kids were kind of just sitting there staring at it, like in the wreckage, I guess, trying to figure out how they're going to get out, or just hiding, or whatever they're doing. And Wanda says something to Pietro. She says, you know, you hope when something like this happens, I think this is what she said, you hope that you wake up and find that it was all a bad dream, that none of it was real. And that, of course, applies to this whole season and the whole Westview experience that she created. Then they flash forward to a time when Wanda was, you know, a volunteer with the activist group that she was part of. And we see her be put through an experiment where they show her, I guess it's the Space Stone, the Space Infinity Stone. And she reaches out to touch it, and then suddenly it takes on yellow energy and becomes, I guess, the Mind Stone, which of course is Vision's stone, the stone that brought him to life, as it were, which was really interesting because, you know, it shows that she, I guess, her abilities connected her to the stones in a way that, I don't know, she could command the different energies. I don't know if that's what they were saying, but it kind of comes up later. But we flash forward from that, and now the show that's on TV is the Brady Bunch. She's in Avengers headquarters, I think, at that point. And, you know, after Vision, oh no, it's not after Vision had died. Was it after? I don't know. After her brother had died, I think it was. And she's watching the Brady Bunch, and Malcolm in the Middle comes on at one point. Those things might not have happened in the same scene, but anyway, she's watching the Brady Bunch at one point, and then also Malcolm in the Middle. The Brady Bunch, of course, came up sort of in the visuals of her house in Westview, and Malcolm in the Middle was kind of paid homage to through the you know, the various opening themes that they had, and you know, the clothes they wore and the decor in the later periods of the show that she's running for her life in Westview. Malcolm in the Middle, among others, but that's, you know, I thought it was good that Malcolm in the Middle was in there to kind of bring that up. Then they start to talk about, or start to, you know, they're going to that period in the flashbacks where the Vision is gone. I used to think that's what it was, because at one time they see her, she sees her flashback to when she's talking with Vision at headquarters. But I guess, you know, we know he eventually dies, and Agatha knows that. So she, at the end of this particular flashback, sheds a tear. And I note that because it seemed genuine to me, that she was moved by, you know, what she saw Wanda going through. I don't think it was fake, because Wanda doesn't see it, because she's standing behind Wanda. So I thought that was interesting, given that she seems power mad. You don't normally put those two things together, you know, being moved by something and also being power mad. Anyway, the next thing we see is that we see a flashback to when Wanda is trying to get Vision's body. And I guess she goes to the lab where they were holding him. And she said, I just want to see him. I just want to see him. And then when she finds out what they've been doing, she's like, no, I want to collect his body and bury him. And they're telling her, no, you can't. And you could just feel how overcome with sadness she was by the fact that he died, and that she'd been gone for 5 years in the snap, and she hadn't been able to bury him, and now they're experimenting on his body, and she just was very sad. And she even breaks the window and goes down to see, the body, but she ends up leaving. She ends up not stealing the body, which is weird, because if I'm not mistaken, in one of the first couple episodes, we were told she had in fact stolen the body. So I don't know what that's about, why he said that, if it weren't true. Maybe because he doesn't want anybody to feel sympathy for her, and he wants them to see her as an enemy. I don't know, but it was strange. The next thing we see is a flashback of when Wanda first goes to Westview. She's driving through Westview as it originally was. And she's seeing even some of her neighbors and some of the characters that we've seen along the way who inhabit Westview under her control. And of course, they're very different because they're not in the past. They're not dressed in clothes from the past and so forth. So that was interesting. But then she arrives at a spot in Westview that is a place where I guess a house had stood. It's just a foundation while she's there. And some of the grass, some of the land inside the frame is like overgrown. The grass has come up, and it's clear that that house has been going for a while. And she opens a note that seems to be like a crudely drawn design of a house, and it's written on it, Westview, our new home sweet home, or something like that, and it's clearly from Vision. And that, I guess, explains why she was in Westview, because Vision had planned, I guess, with her to move there and have a life together. And I didn't know that had taken place. If it was in the movies, I missed it. But apparently that's why Westview. And upon seeing this note, that's when the dam breaks. That's when Wanda breaks down, and her grief just overcomes her, and she drops to the ground. And then she cries out in what I would describe as, boundless grief, despair unimaginable, just utter pain. And she erupts in a burst of massive power, that creates, I don't know how much it creates, but it transmutes Westview. It changes it from the modern setting to a setting from like the 50s. And seemingly effortlessly, just for blocks and blocks, it does this, instantaneously, pretty much. And it even caused her to manifest Vision out of thin air. She just creates Vision from nothing. He just starts to appear little by little in a field or burst of yellow energy, of Mind Stone energy, apparently, that's coming off of Wanda. So it goes back to what I was saying before, and it seems that she was wielding Mind Stone energy, which is just bonkers. And in this sequence, I just had goosebumps. I got a little choked up. It was just so powerful, and you could really feel her pain, and just the outward manifestation of that of it, which was the power burst that had so much power that it reorganized matter, like a Genesis device from Star Trek. Just crazy power manifested from her pain. So it just was a very powerful scene. I guess at that point, Agatha realized what happened to cause Westview to be changed, Wanda's total grief. And I guess she leaves her alone. We don't really see in the basement, and Wanda kind of runs out. She hears the kids, and she runs out of the house and down the street, and she sees that Agatha is floating in the air and holding the kids on leashes of magic, kind of choking them. you know, Wanda says, "Let my children go," and Agatha kind of mocks her and says, "My children, yours and Vision's children." She kind of makes a joke. She remarks about how powerful Wanda is, and you know, the power that created it all. And basically, I think she reiterates at that point that she wants, you know, that kind of power. And she says, "You are, you know, what that makes you, all this power, is the Scarlet Witch." So I don't know what she meant by that. Maybe we'll find out. But maybe she was just saying it because she knows Wanda is called the Scarlet Witch, because she already has that name within the MCU. So I don't know. But I just thought it was great that she said the name, and she said it with a lot of gravitas. And so it was like, yes, you are the Scarlet Witch. You are Scarlet Witch. You know, she was just sort of reaffirming that she is that entity, that powerful being. I thought, you know, that was a cool moment. The episode ends there, at least the credits roll, but we get a mid-credits or a post-credits scene where the FBI guy, whose name I haven't even bothered to learn because I don't like him, is building a new Vision from Vision's body, apparently. So again, that whole thing about Wanda stealing it was baloney. And he says all we needed was some energy from the source. I don't know what he was talking about. I might have missed something, but it's basically Vision 2.0, or Vision 2.5 or 3.0, considering that Wanda's vision could be considered Vision 2.0. And, you know, he, of course, doesn't have a Mind Stone, but I guess their plan is to weaponize him. I guess that's what he told Wanda, too, originally when she came to the body, is that they're trying to, he's a weapon in their mind. So I guess they're planning on using him to take her down or whatever at this point. So we're going to see where that goes next week. Two things I want to say. Catherine Hahn is amazing. I've always liked her, and she is just fantastic in this role. She was fantastic as the wacky neighbor. She nailed that part. We've never seen her be an evil witch before that I'm aware of in things that she's done. But she nailed that as well, and that's not an easy thing to do for an actor, is to go between those two things. So she's just great. I hope she gets a bunch of awards. We'll have to wait for the Emmy nominations. The other thing I want to say is that I'm still thinking, or maybe I could say I'm even more thinking now, that this season is going to end on a cliffhanger, because I don't see how with one episode left they're going to wrap this all up, especially if it's only between 30 and 40 minutes, without sort of screwing over the narrative, because they would have to really rush it. I think there would have to be some kind of deus ex machina, or they would have to gloss over a lot of things to completely wrap it up in one more episode. So I'm thinking we're going to end on a cliffhanger, but we shall see next week. I'm so excited for the season finale. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. But that's all I had to say. So I'm going to depart for now. I will say, as usual, peace and long life.